This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Dispensary of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Swing over to homeofmedicine.org to learn more about all the things that makes the Home of Medicine one of the top dispensaries in the state. With a patient-focused approach to medical marijuana, you'll never feel rushed or sold to when you get your medicine at the Home of Medicine. Once again, that's homeofmedicine.org, which is spelled OMOF medicine.org. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, February 5th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 424 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day starts us off west in Oregon, where on Friday, U.S. Attorney Billy Williams held a policy summit on marijuana attended by numerous state and federal law enforcement officials, as well as members of the state's legal cannabis industry and Governor Kate Brown. Leafly has a good write-up of the event, including some live updates generated on Friday as the event rolled out. In short, U.S. Attorney Williams has said that his state suffers from a problem of oversupply, growing 3 times more cannabis than is used by in-state consumers. One of the more top-of-the-line updates filed on Leafly is a reassurance in a speech by Governor Brown that companies following state cannabis law will not be targeted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution. Open up Leafly for the full detailed read on this one. Alan Brockstein of New Cannabis Ventures wrote a good piece over at Forbes about last week's steep price decline seen within Canada's publicly traded marijuana stocks. Also, he beautifully penned an alliterative headline with his story, which I'm a huge fan of, with, quote, "Canadian cannabis companies correct after capital raising crescendo," unquote. This is another good one to open up for the full read, as just about every publicly traded Canadian marijuana stock fell sharply last week after an exuberant run-up in prices. Alan keeps a close eye on the Canadian market and dives well into the context behind the price adjustment in his Forbes article. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Our final top story of the day bounces us back to the east side of the country, with Massachusetts top adult use marijuana officials saying the planned July 1st rollout of legal adult use sales could be pushed back if necessary. Stephen Hoffman is chair of the Massachusetts Cannabis Commission and told WBZ in an interview that the July 1st date could be flexed back if his agency and other industry stakeholders weren't ready yet to deploy. When asked about the criteria for opening up the industry, Mr. Hoffman said, quote, "If our technology is in place and our staff is in place and it's trained, we'll be ready to go. But unless those things are in place, we will not," unquote. Massachusetts is currently planning on allowing businesses to open up consumption space for cannabis customers, so a lot of people are watching how their implementation process goes. We'll obviously keep an eye on that ourselves. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Dispensary of Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Home of Medicine is a little different than your bog standard medical marijuana shop. Their focus is 100% on helping their patients get the medical marijuana products that's right for them. They take a one-on-one approach that is long on support and education and totally devoid of sales pressure and any kind of rush. That's why their large and growing patient base continues to choose Ohm when it comes time to resupply. If you're lucky enough to live in the Ann Arbor area, swing on over to homeofmedicine.org for directions on how to find them in downtown Ann Arbor. And if you don't live there, you should still open up homeofmedicine.org, which again is spelled OMOFmedicine.org, to get a little taste of what makes them so special. All right, time for the Blitz. Deborah Borchardt over Green Market Report is reporting that California-based marijuana firm MedMen have raised $30 million in capital in exchange for just 3% of their company, putting their valuation at $1 billion, a first for an American-based marijuana firm. MedMen is currently working on plans for a reverse merger into a Canadian publicly traded stock to gain access to greater fundraising capabilities. That is expected to happen sometime in the second quarter of the year. This is a good one to open up for more as Deborah offers some good context about MedMen. Maine's medical marijuana industry had a bit of an off year last year, as 2017 was the first year since medical marijuana sales became legal to see a drop in all of the main metrics of the industry, with total sales as well as the numbers of both caregivers and patients all falling. 2017's mark of $24.5 million in medical marijuana sales was 8% lower than 2016's, driven by an 18% drop in the number of registered patients to 41,858. The number of registered caregivers fell 9%. The Press Herald explores a few of the main reasons for the drop, which include an uptick in so-called gifting sales, in which a gray market company sells someone a glass jar for $90 that comes with a free quarter ounce of cannabis. An increase in home cultivators and fear of an intrusive LePage administration were also touched upon. I reported recently on an important initiative taken up in San Francisco to automatically expunge past criminal convictions against people for cannabis crimes. But as KTLA has it, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said it'd be entirely too much work for it to do the same for people caught up within LA's criminal justice system. On Friday, Los Angeles District Attorney Jackie Lacey said people with marijuana crimes on their record could go through the effort of getting them expunged themselves, quote, rather than wait for the DA's office to go through tens of thousands of case files, unquote. Another story we touched on last week was plans by licensed Canadian medical marijuana company Aphria to divest of its U.S.-held marijuana investments. On Friday, the company made its first steps towards shrugging off their American investments with the announcement of the sale of Arizona-based Copper State Farms to Liberty Health Sciences for $20 million Canadian, or just over $16 million US. In a story mirroring our headline about declining sales in Maine, we have a story out of Alaska of a similar drop, albeit on a smaller timescale. The state just announced sales tax numbers for the month of December, which were $784,000, down from $869,000 in November and $920,000 in October. The Associated Press is reporting that Alaskan State Tax Auditor Dustin Heinzelman estimates that January's tax haul should be north of $1 million, and that he declined to speculate about why revenues dropped in the last 2 months of last year. The state of Ohio is swiftly moving to deploy a medical marijuana program and is taking the innovative step of establishing a telephone hotline for Ohio residents to use to ask questions about medical cannabis. The state just announced the awarding of a $1.1 million contract to set up a call center to handle hotline calls, which are expected to start sometime in the second half of the year. Our final story of the day is another one by Alan Brockstein, this time on his site, New Cannabis Ventures. Alan has been covering the upcoming High Times public offering extensively and published a piece yesterday looking at a promotion being run by High Times Holdings, the parent company of the magazine, seeking to compensate owners of marijuana industry email lists for access to their subscribers to sell shares of the new publicly traded High Times. Alan nicely expands out beyond High Times to look at a few other examples of cannabis firms paying third-party companies to promote their publicly traded stocks. If you have any money in cannabis stocks or have been thinking of deploying some, this is an issue you need to have a good, solid handle of. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Ohm of Medicine, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.